Welcome back, guys, to We Talk Boxing. And today I'm going to be talking about Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller, which is going to be taking place on the Crawford versus Madrinov. Madrinov probably butchered his name undercard on Saturday, the 3rd of August this year in Los Angeles. So, this fight is for many boxing fans who love the heavyweight scene, is an exciting fight. And it's between two fighters who are no doubt going to be trading leather for leather. Now, in terms of both fighters, we know both fighters quite well. Let's start with Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz has been in there with some good opposition. He's fought Anthony Joshua twice, and during that time as well, he obviously defeated him the first time round, obviously in New York. Um, Pretty much where he knocked him out or got the TKO decision in the 7 rounds, and this was back in 2019 as well. And at the time, Andy Ruiz was a late replacement. Who pulled out for Anthony Joshua? Oh yeah, it was Jarrell Miller. Yeah, it was Jarrell Miller. Literally, he got popped for drugs, etc. I literally just had to thought about that. But anyhow, he obviously defeated Anthony Joshua the first time round, and then obviously these guys ran it back in December that year, where AJ pretty much beat him on a UD in 12 rounds. It's obviously claimed back all his titles, and that was in Saudi Arabia. Now, since then, in terms of Andy Ruiz, he hasn't been as active as what we pretty much would have liked. He had one fight back in 2021 versus Chris Aviola, which went 12 rounds. He won that on the UD, and then he fought in 2022 September, and fought against Ortiz, which was a good fight to be honest. He beat Ortiz by UD as well. Pretty much all the judges favoured him there, but he hasn't been back in the ring since. And we're talking what, nearly 2 years, just under 2 years by the time he gets back in the ring. Now, to me, this kind of feels a little bit fishy as to why he's been out of the ring. Hasn't really been put out any sort of like post that he's injured or etc etc. He just hasn't been fighting, and his name hasn't been thrown around as well in terms of being an opponent for someone. So it's quite weird how he hasn't fought, or he hasn't. You know what I mean? He's only had one fight in like nearly 2 years. It's quite a bit weird, and sometimes I kind of think to myself. I mean, boxers like Andy Ruiz, who hasn't fought for that time, are these guys, you know what I mean, have they been popped for some sort of PED and have served their ban and they kind of kept it on the D-low, not kind of been in the ring since. There's other fighters out there who are kind of perceived like that as well, like Kovalev. What's happening with Triple G? Do you know what I mean? Some big names that haven't fought in terms of a long time, but sometimes they kind of make their appearance back in boxing. But anyhow, that's a talk for a different video. No, anyhow, as I said, this is an exciting fight for boxing fans because both of these guys were trade leather for leather. The mobility for both of these guys isn't great, even though I'd say that fitness wise, from what I remember from Andy Ruiz and mobility wise, I'd say it probably favours him there in terms of against Jarrell Miller. We know what Jarrell Miller's like. He's obviously fought not long ago, and that was against Daniel Dubois. That was back in December, and he lost on a TKO, 10 round TKO decision. And it was a good fight, but in terms of what I expected from Jarrell Miller, it wasn't the Jarrell Miller what I kind of expected. I thought he was going to go in there, you know what I mean, take quite a lot of punishment, which he did. But I thought he was going to obviously let his hands go and probably rock and hurt Daniel Dubois. And he did catch Daniel Dubois at times, but he just didn't do enough. And it was mainly fitness to the reason why I felt that he obviously didn't get the decision, but obviously just wasn't good enough because obviously the referee stopped it in the end. And he was close actually to seeing the bell, but the referee just stopped it. But prior to that fight for Jarrell Miller, he obviously fought against Lucas Brown in the same year and obviously beat him by a 6 round TKO. The following year, 2022, he had two fights. His first fight was against Ariel Esteban something. That was a 10 round UD decision for him, for Jarrell Miller. And then he fought again Jarrell Miller versus Derek Canades. I can't butcher people's names, but anyhow, he beat him in 4 rounds, which was a TKO victory. So he's been active, Jarrell Miller, but he's not in terms of he's not fit in terms of like long, like duration wise. He's just one of these guys that will stand there and will absorb a lot of punishment, but will give it back. And that's why I think this is going to be an exciting fight, because both of these guys are not going to be using the ring to stay away from each other, because they're going to go toe to toe and throw a lot of leather. As I said, Andy Ruiz has probably got a little bit more movement about him, so he may probably favour to kind of use the ring a little bit more. But in terms of staying away from Jarrell Miller, it's quite hard to do, because Jarrell Miller just keeps coming forward at times, and as I said, he can take a lot of punishment, and he's got a good chin. Took some big shots against Daniel Dubois. But yeah, this is a very, very good fight, an exciting fight for most boxing fans. But what's very intriguing is that both of these two, are not ranked in the top 15 in any governing body. Jarrell Miller is currently ranked 29 in the world as well, and fourth best American heavyweight according to BoxRec, whereas Andy Ruiz isn't ranked at all, and I'm not surprised really, because he's been inactive. Um, but both of these guys have got good boxing records going into it. Jarrell Miller currently 26 and 1-1, so he's got 26 wins, 22 KOs to his name, one loss, which was a KO loss, and one draw as well. And his KO loss obviously came not long ago, and that was to Daniel Dubois. And his draw came back in 2013. Can't remember the opponent that he fought against, but that was back a while ago. Yeah, but in terms of Andy Ruiz's record is a very good one as well. So he's currently 35-2 with 22 KOs to his name. His two losses, on the other hand, one came back in 2019 to AJ in that 12-round unanimous decision loss. And then the other one was back in 2016 to Joseph Parker, which is a majority decision loss, which most people felt that he probably edged that. So yeah, good fight between the pair. I feel as if it could be fight of the night in terms of the undercard as well, because yeah, in terms of the fights that are on, this fight could pretty much set the scene. There's no order in terms of where these guys are going to go in terms of who's fighting first, etc. But other fights that are on the card, you've got Cruz versus Antonio Moran, you've got Isaac Cruz versus Jose Venezuela, you've got Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Tim Tszyu, question mark. David Morales on there as well. He's fighting a guy, I can't pronounce his name, Kala Jafidi, whatever. And then you got the main event as well, which is Israel Madrinov, who's defending his titles versus Terence Crawford as well, which is the main event. So this potentially could be the fight of the night in terms of explosiveness as well. But you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you consider the favourite in this fight between Jarrell Miller versus Andy Ruiz? And how do you feel that this fight will go in terms of like final verdict? Is it going to go on points? Is it going to be a technical stoppage from the referee, or is it going to be a knockout? And if there is a knockout, who do you consider to be the favourite for the knockout? Who would you consider the bigger puncher? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Bless.